Tales of Amestralia. The Ascension of Kuzala. The Restart. After a long journey of almost 500 miles along the road that connects Rockholm to Turgo, Kuzala arrived in the city of Turgo safely. Kuzala was nervous about being outside the walls of Rockholm for the first time in her life, the place where she had spent all her years of life until then, but despite her nervousness, Kuzala maintained her posture and resisted every time she felt like giving up and returning to her home. When Kuzala saw the city of Turgo for the first time, she soon realized that Turgo was a different city from Rockholm. To begin with, the city was close to a large river, and just as Samso said, it had a large wall with several watchtowers that showed anyone who approached that the place was very well protected, which was a great contrast compared to the 15-foot wall of Rockholm, which throughout history had been climbed 3 times and torn down twice. Kuzala arrived in Turgo with great enthusiasm and quickly remembered the conversation she had with Samso about the city's castles. She quickly recognized some of the places that Samso told her about and was amazed by what she saw. Turgo was a vibrant and very wooded city, with reasonably clean and flat streets, a rare thing in the city of Rockholm, which was full of narrow corridors, staircases, ramps, and steep climbs. Kuzala realized that she was very distracted and focused on finding Samso. She asked for directions on the city streets on how to get to Lazo Square. After 2 hours of walking from one side to the other, Kuzala managed to find the peaceful square. She spent hours sitting near the square's fountain waiting for Samso to appear. At the end of the afternoon, Samso appeared walking calmly down the street and recognized Kuzala when he saw her sitting in the fountain. They both hugged and Kuzala explained why she was there. Samso questioned her about how she knew where he lived, and Kuzala told him that she remembered a conversation they had in Rockholm, during the year-end festivities, where he told her that he lived facing a square called Lazo Square, a name that was easy to remember, because in one of the stories that Kuzala read as a child there was a comic character called Lazo, a character that Kuzala liked very much. Samso welcomed Kuzala into his home and offered her a place to bathe and sleep. Kuzala accepted Samso's hospitality and rested comfortably after a long journey. Throughout the week, Samso showed more of the city of Turgo to Kuzala, indicating where the city's main streets were and which were the best-known neighborhoods and squares, and even showed the place where the School of Archaeology of Turgo was located, the place where he studied. Kuzala was amazed by everything she learned throughout that week. The Turgian atmosphere gave her new encouragement, as it was something different from what she had known all her life, so much so that she began to record her discoveries in what became her first diary. Still in the first week in Turgo, Kuzala asked Samso to help her arrange a job in the city. Samso found a job as a cleaner for Kuzala in a tavern near the city's main street, which wasn't exactly what Kuzala wanted, but it was better than not having a job. For her, this was the beginning of a great restart. For 18 months Kuzala worked in the tavern, sweeping the floor and cleaning the tables. During this time she met many new people, many of them with good intentions and many with bad intentions, but with great calm and determination she dealt with the problems and managed to gather a good amount of money. It didn't take long for Kuzala to get used to the city. Within a few months she already knew Turgo as if she were a native and even adapted her Rockholmian dialect to speak in a way more similar to the Turgians. When walking around the city, with or without Samso's presence, Kuzala would not go more than 5 minutes without greeting or being greeted by someone on the street, leading Samso to comment that Kuzala, in less than a year in the city, already knew more people than he did. Kuzala continued to live in Samso's house, which was convenient for her, as there she didn't have to worry about paying rent or food costs. Samso, who during this period became more than a friend for Kuzala. When Kuzala was alone at home, she would take some of the books he kept in his small office and read them to learn everything she could, as this was the best way she could study since she couldn't afford to study at the School of Archaeology of Turgo. Kuzala took great advantage of this time and learned a lot about the profession of archaeologists. After this period of 18 months, Samso arrived home one day with great news. The School of Archaeology of Turgo was in need of a librarian's assistant, and Samso spoke to the directors and recommended Kuzala, who already had experience in the area. Kuzala was supposed to present herself for a test the next day, and so she did, and with a lot of enthusiasm, friendliness, and prowess she was accepted and started working at the institution where she dreamed of studying. Kuzala spent 3 years working as a librarian's assistant in the school library where she interacted with hundreds of the school's students. In addition to being a place where she met people, there she not only had a good salary but also had access to an impressive catalogue of books, maps, and documents on archaeology. While Kuzala wasn't organizing books, serving students, or eating, she was reading, and she read a lot, and over time her surgical knowledge came to scare the most novice students and even some of the employees and teachers. During her second year as an assistant, Kuzala, who couldn't be happier with her life, received sad news from Samso. Samso was orphaned by father and mother, who paid for his house and studies was his uncle who lived in the city of Serros. His uncle, a rich man called Nilvo Lambato, had sent him a letter informing him that during the upcoming vacation period his nephew was supposed to travel to Serros to marry a girl from an important family in the city. Samso told Kuzala how her uncle was a difficult man to deal with and that when he got an idea in his head he wouldn't let it go. Samso's uncle was Samso's mother's blood brother and he didn't like Samso being the son of a father who had a history of robberies and theft and who was always running away from the law. He spent years without communicating with his sister due to discord over her partner. However, when Samso at the age of 9 lost his father, who was murdered in the streets of Turgo by an acquaintance with whom he had disagreements, his uncle went to visit the family in Turgo and took the family back to Serros, where he started to support it. When Samso was 13 years old, his mother died of tuberculosis and his uncle became responsible for him. His uncle was always a demanding man and was always strict with Samso, because according to him, his own father hadn't been strict enough with his daughter and that's why she married a bum, and if he wasn't strict with Samso he would also become a bum, since he was the son of a bum and an inconsequential woman. This harsh treatment from his uncle was the main reason Samso left Serros to study in Turgo when he was 17 years old. Now that he was 22 years old, his uncle insisted that he marry someone of his choosing, otherwise, he would no longer finance his nephew, and Samso had many career plans where he would need his uncle's money. Samso informed Kuzala that he would have to go to Serros soon and that he would try to convince his uncle not to marry, but that the chances of his pleas having any effect were minimal and that he could not risk losing his uncle's patronage. Kuzala was saddened by the situation, because she loved Samso very much, but as much as she loved him and he loved her, Kuzala knew that Samso was ambitious and had many dreams. He wanted to study more and planned to go on many trips in the years to come, and for this he would need a lot of money. Kuzala found herself in the same position that Capio was years before. Samso liked her, but he had bigger ambitions just as she had bigger ambitions when she decided to leave Rockholm. Kuzala told Samso to do what he believed he had to do, and that they should both move on and live their lives as best they could, even if it separated them. Samso thanked Kuzala for her words and that he felt relieved knowing that she wouldn't hold a grudge against him. 2 months later Samso left the house in Turgo and traveled to Serros, leaving the house he rented to Kuzala, who would now have to pay to live in it, but which she could do without pressure, as her earnings covered all her expenses. In her 3rd year as a librarian's assistant at the School of Archaeology of Turgo, Kuzala focused even more on her studies. Without Samso at home, she took books to read every week and she herself filled several diaries with her countless notes and drawings. In her work at the library, Kuzala was impressive, almost like a machine. She had friendships with dozens of students and teachers at the school and was quick and accurate when organizing books and documents. Her efforts were recognized when the librarian in charge of the school library during the night shift decided to change jobs. The day shift librarian recommended Kuzala to become the new head of the night shift. The principals had no objections on the matter and thus promoted her to the position of librarian in the first month of the year 3E2782. Kuzala felt accomplished with the promotion. She would be 22 years old in 3E2782 and already had a great job at a great institution, something she knew didn't happen to just anyone. On her first night in her new position Kuzala began writing her new diary, Diary number 9. Its first page tells how she looked around and thought about where she would be if she hadn't run away from home years before. Kuzala spent 7 long years working during the night shift in the library of the School of Archaeology of Turgo. As the flow of students was much smaller at night, Kuzala had more time to read and learn. During this period Kuzala took the opportunity to also have access to some items from the library that were used as examples in classes, and with books as teachers she learned about archaeology as well as a paying student at the school.